when the government is 80% of your revenue, you care a lot about what the government thinks, and you better make sure that the government is happy with you. By the way, that's the same with healthcare. It's the same with a lot of industries. I mean, in a certain way, that's true with the power business as well, that Berkshire Hathaway is in a major way. I mean, it may not be the government paying your bills, but the government effectively does by regulating you, and they can put you out of business, and they can change your economics at the stroke of a hat. I think that, so in the same way that when you run a healthcare company, you are making decisions at the margin between high quality of care and high profitability. When you run an education company, you are doing the same, but quality of education versus profitability. And that is, we all want as much education and as much quality education for all of the members of our society as possible. Unfortunately, it is rationed, but somehow it's morally a lot less unpleasant or a lot more acceptable if the government is rationing that education out, even if it's doing a very, very bad job of it, than to have somebody who has the profit motive to ration that education out. So one of the things that I think sticks in the throats of many of the people who've examined the for-profit education industry is that for-profit companies invest in what matters. Having large, beautiful libraries for students to visit, or beautiful sports fields, or campuses for that matter, is just not where it's at for the for-profit companies, because they're about delivering exactly what the person needs to do well in the workforce. And on a certain level, we can all understand that that's right. On another level, those of us who had wonderful college educations and many other members of society feel that there's something morally wrong about a company that is deciding to make more money by depriving the students coming to them of a library or of sports fields or of a beautiful leafy green campus. And but the United States government effectively is responsible for 80% of many of these companies' revenues or more, and there is a very real and fundamental reevaluation of exactly what kind of relationship the US public wants to have to its for-profit education companies. And so the business model for an Apollo or some of the other companies going forward may be very different to what it was, because there's a fundamental shift in how the US Congress decides that those companies should operate. They might come along and say, we've decided that it's fundamentally unjust for students to be going to a college that doesn't have a leafy green campus and a library, and we're going to legislate that in, where you'll only get Title IV funding if you have a leafy green. And you know, there is no end to the amount of dollars that a leafy green campus and beautiful public library or beautiful library spaces can cost. So Apollo Education is unbelievably cheap relative to its former business model, but what it looks like relative to its upcoming business model, we don't know. There's no question that the pendulum has swung very, very far, but pendulum might be the wrong model. It might be where the apple is dropped and it ain't never going back on the tree again. And I think that it is a very real and valuable and honest debate that should be had. But what one can come down to on Apollo is to say, look, at the end of the day, the American public is going to accept a model in which high quality education is delivered in a very efficient model that is very different to leafy green campuses, and we want that as part of the system. And obviously the for-profit education companies are doing their very best to put that view into the debate. And exactly how it falls out, I think that where I come out on that is that that is a, now I'm making a bet on the political process rather than a bet on how things will play out. And I don't want to make bets on political processes.